Hi Flosstube, I'm Autumn, the Yellow Rose Stitcher. Welcome to my channel. Today is the 12th of April. I say this last weekend was our Easter weekend. If you celebrated, I hope you had a blessed time. As I say, we've been enjoying some really nice spring weather. Been enjoying it before it gets too hot here in North Texas. Speaking of spring, got me thinking, and I've got some things to share. It was predicted that we would have a really lush bluebonnet season, and we have. It's been great. To say all the bluebonnets and planted by the highway department on the highways. I say it's interesting because some years there's more of a mix of wildflowers, and then other years it's heavier in bluebonnets. This is one of those years where it's more bluebonnets than anything else. But anyway, that got me thinking, and I thought it would be fun to share some of Texas and wildflower stitching that I have. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if unfortunately, I can't take credit for most of these. Only one of these is one that I stitched. The rest are ones that my mom stitched. Some were gifts for me specifically, and then others were things that mom stitched and then gave to me when they moved. They moved overseas, and so I inherited stuff, so I have some things to frame. But anyway, and unfortunately I won't know the pattern names for most of these. Well, except for the one that I stitched. And I thought I had the one for this one. This is the first one, which is a Indian paintbrush. Really love this. And I thought I had the pattern for this one to share with you, but when I pulled stuff out for the video, I couldn't find it. So anyway, this pattern is in there. And then stay put. See if I can do this without it falling. And then this is also in that same pattern booklet, which is the bluebonnet. So I'd like to get that framed so they can go on the wall together. Let's say I've got to figure out, make a plan how to redo some things, because my sewing room is used to be the kids' game room. You come up to the top of the stairs and it's an open living area. And I say when the kids were little, it was their game room, hangout, TV room. But since they've grown up and flown the coop, I've converted it to my sewing room. So I had lots of plans and patterns for different Texas things, and didn't get much of any of them stitched. But so I've kept this side of the room, the stairwell, with Texas stuff, and you probably can't see. I've got some Texas themed stuff over here on the bookshelf at the top of the stairs, history books and travel books. But anyway, now I've got this side of the room that's all sewing themed stuff. So I'm gonna see if I can blend it and make it work. So that's one thing that needs to get framed and get up. And I thought I had the book for this one too, but I didn't. It just says Texas. And I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Mom. I haven't had a chance to ask her. I didn't think about this before I started filming. She actually stitched the paintbrush twice, so I'm not sure if she stitched this one for herself and the other one for me, but she never got that one framed. And then this one is stitched on Ada, and it's the state bird, the mockingbird with blue bonnets. I say it's more purpley than, especially there's a lot of purple in the bird, which I thought was unusual, but I like it. So that's, and then the last one of Mom's stitches is this one that I really like. And I say, I wish I knew who the pattern was by, but I really enjoy this one with the landscape like across the state and the wildflowers in it. So there's those. And then So since we're on Texas stuff, thought I'd show this one too. This is the one I stitched, and it's a hindsight pattern. I don't know if it's available or not. Last time I went looking for some of their stuff, I didn't see some of their older patterns. Like I have this one, and the other one I have finished says quilting. It says quilting, and then I have one that's a whip that says stitching. But also, I was curious. I was going to ask those of you watching if any of you have stitched hindsight patterns, if you've had trouble with your charms tarnishing these or have tarnished, and I'm just wondering how you cleaned them, because I'd be afraid of what it would do to the stitching. I don't know. So I'd be curious if anybody out there, if y'all have any of these, if you've cleaned your charms and what you did. I have a silver cleaning cloth that's just got the cleaner in it, and I thought about trying that, but I don't know. I'd hate to. As I say, I want to have this reframed. I had picked out a ready-made frame at Michael's and then had them frame it, and it doesn't. I don't think it shows up as much on the camera, but there's a big hump in the middle. It wasn't stretched very well, but anyway. That was a kind of a different little start for my video, but thinking about the wildflowers and the bluebonnets this spring, I thought it would be fun to share those with you. So I'll say that's that. I was also, if you're, I'll say I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and there's this small town southeast of Dallas, Ennis. And they're the bluebonnet capital of Texas. And we took our kids there for a day outing one day some years ago. If you're in the area and you haven't done it, it makes a great day outing. There's a building in downtown that you go to, and they've got a map for you to follow, different roads to the countryside, and all the pastures that are to see, full of wildflowers, bluebonnets, and paintbrushes. If I think about it or remember, I'll try to put maybe a link for that in the description box below. I tried to find our pictures. I thought I might share a couple, but I have misplaced those pictures on my computer, so couldn't share those with you. But anyway, just thought I'd share. If you haven't gone, it makes a great day outing, as I said. So let's see. And to say, if you're new to the channel, as to say, I don't finish a lot. I never have. And what I have finished, I've usually passed on to other people. But I say I like to start things. And especially this year, I have a big birthday coming up this year. I'll be turning 50. So I decided last year to start 50 new things. So I have lots of starts to share with you, because I haven't filmed a video since February. Let's just say life got in the way. March pretty much kicked our butts. My husband and I say we hadn't seen the light of day in weeks. And things are finally starting to kind of get back to normal. I say our church has been renovating a building for 2 years. Anyway, it was finally finished, and I say I'm the church secretary, and my husband is a deacon, and he's over all the AV sound and production in the church. So we have spent many an hour in March being up at the church and getting things set up and put in place and trying to get things back to normal. And like I said, finally it feels like it is. But so I actually, we'll get into that in a second. So I have my last video was, I think, the 18th of February, so mid-February. So I had 2 more starts to share with you from February, the end of February. And this was, I think I started, let me open my calendar. Let's see. Yeah, it was February 19th, so that was the day before President's Day. So my planned start, or the start I had for that, was George Decorates for Martha from Plum Street. Felt appropriate for President's Day. And this was the progress I made that week, so not too bad, not too shabby. What's to say? I always thought this pattern was interesting, mixing, the patriotic and the fall stitching. not something you see normally. As I say, I liked that. And it is stitched on. When I got this, it was a kit from, I was in a club from Dyeing to Stitch, which, if you're not familiar, they also are the dyers between R&R Fabrics. So this is an R&R fabric, 36 count colonial brown. And the threads are a mixture of Weeks, Dyeworks, Classic Colorworks, and DMC. So, but that was February. Like that. It'll be good to get back to that someday. I'll say, and put that on the floor. And then my next start, I had a really good stitching week this week, the last week of February. I started the 2022 Collector's Heart from Heart and Hand, and it says, "Make life beautiful for others," which I liked that saying. And this one is stitched on 32 count Heartland from Picture This Plus, and the threads in it are Classic Colorworks Weeks combination, but I almost finished this one. So it was really, don't lack much at all. So I got to finish the flowers across the top border and then do the bottom border, which is identical to the top. And then there's a couple of buttons to add, and then I'll be done. So maybe a couple of Wednesdays and I can get that one finished. So that was exciting to see if I can get that finished before the end of the year somehow. With all these starts, let's see. So like I said, March was not a whole lot of stitching going on. I did one the beginning of the month. I started Double Dutch, which is a pattern by Sampler Cove. It's another big one. I say in all my planned starts this year, I tried to balance out the big ones and little ones, or medium-sized ones, but as I say, these big projects, excuse me, I'm like a moth to a flame. They just, draw me right in. But I'm using, find my card. It's being stitched on 36 count vellum by Picture This Plus. And the called for threads, except for one, it calls for Gloriana silk, and it called for rosewood, antique gold, and midnight blue. But the blue I didn't think matched. To me, that looked more teal, and I didn't quite get a teal, but it's a little more than the called for. But anyway, I picked Pacific blue is the color I ended up subbing for that. And this was the progress I made on that first week in March. So not too shabby. I think it's going to be really pretty on this fabric. The other thing is 36 count isn't my favorite count, only because I like kind of a heavier coverage. And to me, 36 count is, one thread isn't quite enough and two is too many. But this being silk, if I remember correctly, silk is thicker than cotton. Anyway, I think it had a better coverage for my taste. So I'm going to be happy with that. So let's stick this back in. That was, and then as I say, then I went 2 weeks with no real stitch. Well, I had a whip. I'll show you here in a minute. But my other, the other new start, well, this technically isn't a new start. It's a restart. And if you're on Instagram, this I think is picked up in popularity over the last year. Let me get this out. It's from 1987. The March, April, May, June, and July, August. It was a 3-part series in cross stitch and better country crafts. So 1987, and it is what they call a triptych. See if I can find the one that shows the whole thing. Anyway, that's not it. Ruth. All right, where'd you go? There it is. So this, I actually started last year, and I started with this piece here, the hanging quilts, and I hadn't gotten very far. And my husband, I was showing it to my husband, and mentioned that, you know, some people stitch it all as one piece, and he said he'd like to see it all as one piece instead of one. So I was like, well, I haven't gotten that far. I can restart it. But I'll show you. And it's stitched on 28 count Lugana. That was my start for just the one piece. So, and I say this can barely be called the start, my restart. I say I only stitched on it one day that last week of March, and I started on the same end, and all I got done was a little bit of the clouds. So not too good of a start, but like I said, March kicked our butts. We were busy. So, and I'm curious, I don't know, because if this is if you have these magazines, I don't know if anybody would want this and stitch just this one piece. If you want to comment, Amish Life. If there's more than one, I'll just do a random comment picker and pick a winner. But if you have the pattern in or the magazines and you think you'd want to finish this, let me know and I'll send it to you, because I don't know what else I'm going to do with it. So, like I said, it's 28 count. This was a piece of Hobby Lobby's fabric. The other one I got at my local shop to replace it, but this is stitched on just the Hobby Lobby fabric. So anyway, if you're interested, I don't know if anybody will be, but I thought I'd make the offer. So that was March. March's starts. I'll say in April, like I said, is getting back to normal. And I've had some good stitching going on. So for the first week in March, I started on Palm Sunday, which seemed appropriate. Let me get this. I started A Saviour's Praise by the Shakespeare's Peddler. And I'm using all the called for. It's stitched on 40 count Beach Brew by R&R Reproductions. And then it's mostly anchor threads, and then there's a few weak dye works. So I got the pattern at the Stitch Niche, and then I ordered the fabric. And at the time when it came out, Teresa Vignette, the owner, Kitten Stitcher, had the anchor threads in a package that you could order. So I decided I'd try them. I've never stitched with anchor thread before, so, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about them. The jury's still out. They're okay, but I feel like they untwist more as you're stitching than DMC. So anyway, but this was the progress that I got last week, or this Palm Sunday week. So not too shabby. And the other interesting thing, so this is only my second piece that I have started on 40 count. I had another piece that I started in, I can't remember if it was February or January. Anyway, it was a small redwork sampler, and it was on 40 count. But I think it's done on Weeks Dye Works, and if you're familiar, their fabric, and I think this was one of their older bases, because now their higher count fabrics come on a Zweigart base, but their old ones were like their lower counts. And I know there's people out there that comment they don't like Weeks fabric. I like it. It doesn't bother me. Like I said, it was on 40 count, and I thought, oh, I can do this. This is 40 count's not too bad. And then I started stitching on this one, and I can see it, but it's just harder and a tighter fabric, closer to. So it's a slower stitch than that first 40 count. Plus, it doesn't help that my eyeglasses broke, and so all I've got at the moment are cheap dollar store readers So haven't been able to get to the eye doctor yet, which I'm going to have to attend to that. But anyway, I'll keep plugging away, but as I say, I don't think this is going to be I mean, granted, it's the stitch count on this. I'll say she's another big girl. 313 by 370 is the stitch count. So, but just stitching, I think in general, it's going to be slower on this, on the 40 count. So there she is. So those were my starts since the last video. Oh, no. Duh. I'll say Easter Sunday, a few days ago, I started swallows, and this is an OwlForest embroidery pattern. And it was a PDF that I just printed off. I have a whole series of these bird patterns, and I think I could stitch every one of them. But on this one, I ended up, I've had this for a few years. I ordered their threads, and at the time, so it's so far I should say I've been happy with them, and I'm stitching it on 32 count platinum. Yeah, 32 count platinum. And this is my progress just since Sunday night. No, I think I started Monday. Yeah, I wasn't Easter. I didn't get any stitching done. So I got this. This is how far I've gotten in 2 days. So not too bad. Of course I can. So I got the thread and the needle minder of theirs when I ordered it. But the variegation I kind of like. The green and the blue. I'll show you and I don't know what I did. If you've ever ordered OwlForest threads before, I don't have what it came in, of course. I'd written down all of these numbers on the back of the thread drops, and not a single one of them matched the numbers on the thread key on the pattern. So I don't know what I wrote down. So I had to go through and kept going back between the thread colors and the picture, and all of them are easy except for there's 3 blues. So I mean the dark blue was easy to figure out as the bird, or all of the birds, but the 2 kind of lighter blues, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but let's see if I can hold these up and it be presentable. Let's see. But stitching with their threads though have been, let's say they've been crumpled up in a bag for quite a while. But those are all of the colors, like I said, and there's 3 blues, a dark, a medium, and a light. Let's see. So that there. So I'm going to say kind of tricky. The 2 lighter ones are kind of, I think, harder to figure out because they kind of look the same. So anyway, like I said, it probably doesn't matter. It'll be my personal opinion, but anyway, we'll see. But that's this week's project. I say, and I had plans to work on a whip today. Actually, that's not true. Haha. I had plans to start something, but I haven't had any stitching time today. So, okay, set this aside. Those are my starts since the last video. And other things that I worked on, like I said, some of the nights that my husband and I were working up at the church, I wasn't really working. I was there to assist him here and there. And so, for some reason, cross-stitching just wasn't feeling it. And I had skipped 2 of my March starts. And so I pulled out knitting, and I have finished my first pair of socks. I'll say I've got several pairs started, 1 pair that's finished that aren't wearable, but this is my first really, like I figured out the stitch count for my foot that's comfortable, and the leg, and my recipe, as they call it, in knitting. So, and this this yarn, let me put one of these on a sock blocker, maybe you can see it better. It's called Vintage Halloween, and it was a sock set from Artistic Lily, And unfortunately, she's not dyeing yarn anymore, which is a shame because I really, really loved her color sense and colorways. And I've got a few more sets in my stash, so, but I don't know how much that's showing up. It may look black, but it's actually like a deep eggplant purple, which is kind of in the, but I was excited. I was able to close the toe on the second sock this afternoon. And say these aren't blocked or anything, but of course I probably won't get much wear out of them now that we're into mid-April. It's going to be too hot to wear them, but I'll have to save them for this fall. And my husband was funny. He was teasing me about skipping my cross-stitch starts and knitting. And so I was like, look, it's my game, my rules. So go by the stump. So he was teasing though, but glad to have my first pair of socks done. I say I can work on what I want to, right? It's our hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If I want to skip some starts, that's on me. The other piece that I did take occasionally to work on that I could put in my bag and grab and go is my cross stitch retreat piece from last November. My parents live in Mexico, so there's a YouTuber in Mexico, Yanni, who has a YouTube channel, and she's put on a cross stitch retreat. And so Mom and I met there, and let's see if I can show the pattern name because it's in Spanish, and my Spanish is not. I'm hoping to try to pick up. Anyway, that's, can you see with the glare? That's the pattern name. Anyway, I pull this. I have in the little bag that I got at that retreat as a gift. So I took this with me, and it's stitched on 14 count Aida that Yanni dyed. But I was able to finish this blue across the bottom up here, the leaf, and kind of the flowers. So I got a bit of progress on it, working on it just a little bit here and there. So she's cute. So that was the other whip. Those are the two whips that I worked on. Oh, that's not true. I forget. And let's see, March, February. I did work on one other one, and that was Spring by Cottage Country Needleworks. Glare. Sorry, I had to. It's later in the evening than I planned on filming, so I've got the light on, so there's a glare. Anyway, I pulled this out. This was a whip one Wednesday, and it's stitched on 14 count Aida. I can't remember if it's 14 or 16. 16 count. 16 count Aida. Anyway, and it's all DMC except for one gassed, which is this green. But anyway, when I pulled it out, I was able to fill in the pink in the house, these two flowers, the tree, and down here, and then get bunnies started in this vine that goes down. So that was my progress on that. So I say, considering that I really didn't do much stitching in February, it's not too bad of a showing of stitching that I worked on, and a finished pair of socks. And if I do say so myself. And of course, as you know, we've had the Nashville Needlework Market happened in March. So that's happened since my last video. And of course, I had to buy stuff. The Stitch Knit sends out emails with previews. And I had done pretty good. I hadn't bought too much compared to previous years. I think I pre-ordered 4 or 5 things. And of course, I picked up more when I went into the store to pick up my order. But one of the ones that I ordered is United We Stand. And I was surprised when I got this. I didn't realize, I thought all that was in it was this square pin keep, which is what I was wanting. This originally came out, there's a Facebook group, Homespun. I'm not on Facebook much. Anyway, they do exclusive kits. I didn't order it then, but anyway, It comes with this the scissor pocket and this needle book on the back. If you haven't seen it, you've probably seen everything that came out from market by now, but I bought that. And my the other thing that I wanted was Beauty Fades from Teresa Kogut. I love that saying. I love the church down here. So someday we'll get that started. And then I bought another Heart and Hand Everyday Things little pillow. And it says the everyday sweet little things are the most beautiful. And then it's got home, friends, family, stitch, nature around in little. And it comes with a little button. So I picked that up. And this next one, I absolutely love the birds on this. And this is a new pattern. She has a running with needles and scissors. I know she has a Flosstube. I haven't watched her in a very long time. But apparently she's putting out patterns now. And this one's called Beloved. But oh, those birds and the colors are just fantastic. I'm tempted just if I start this just to stitch the birds. But I don't know. The whole thing is, I think, gorgeous. So, and then nope, that's not true. And then this I know from Plum Street Samplers. Oh, absolutely love that pink church. And I'm thinking, I say when market came about, I was talking to Chris and I'm like, oh, I goofed. I picked out and kitted up all of these 50 starts for my birthday and I didn't leave myself a blank spot for something new from market this year. And Chris as well, just make it a Whip Wednesday project start. I'm like, I think I might do that. So when I went in to pick up my order, I picked up fabric for it. It's not the called for. This is, let's see, 40 count embellish from Atomic Ranch Fabrics. It's kind of a, I don't know if it's showing up in this light, peachy kind of tan. But anyway, and I picked up a few of the threads. But anyway, I had thought about starting this today, but let's say it's like 8 o'clock now. I doubt I get it. I don't know if I'll get it started or not. But I also, I say that was acquisitions. Oh, I'll go ahead and, anyway. Sorry, my brain's bloop, bloop, bloop. I have one of my planned starts for this month I'm not going to be able to start, which I'm a little annoyed about. I had ordered the fabric a year ago, literally last April, and I'm still waiting on it. So I was going to start Celtic Spring, but I don't have the fabric to start it on, so I may start, I think I'll start this instead. But then I want it to go in the grandbaby's playroom. So I say I may work on it on Wednesdays and then sprinkle in other old works in progress projects here and there. But I would love to be able to focus on this on Wednesdays and see how far I can get the rest of the year. And as I say, not the fastest stitcher in the world, so we'll see how that goes. Plus, I'm fixing to have more work. Up until now, I've always kind of made my own schedule and worked, not full time, but that's going to be changing here in the next month or so. So I'll have to diminish my stitching time significantly. So those were the pre-orders that I did before I went in, and then the Stitch Niche happened to have 3 trunk shows, and when I went in, which I think was the week following their market day, I say that was in March. So they had a Jan Hicks trunk show. They had Kathy Barrick. I can't remember the third one. It was a pattern company I wasn't familiar with. But anyway, I ended up picking up 2 Jan Hicks. I think I just saw on Instagram the other day that she's come out with a 4th one now, the Vintage Christmas Alphabet. So, and I just got number 1. when I was at the store, 1, 2, and 3 were there. But I was going to say, I think 4's come out since I went and picked these up in March. But like I say, I just got the first one. But I love the traditional red, gold, and green that she did these in. So I'll have to pick up, let the pocketbook recover, and pick up some more. And then I had seen this, and I liked the sampler, but you know, if you've ever seen the photos of a pattern versus the real thing in real life is much prettier. But her Louis Chappus, 1884, I love the bright colors. I know a lot of the samplers are popular in the faded colors, but I love it when they reproduce them in the or close to the original colors from the back, which this one, and I love the ribbony border. And anyway, I picked that up. So add that to the stash. And then the other, Kathy Barrick, this was a drum I had not seen before. I don't know if the pattern is new or old. There's not a date on it that I can see. But it was the Autumn Pin Drum. Really liked that. So I picked that up. Add that to the pin drum collection. And then lastly, the last thing I got is from a pattern company called Violets and Verses. And it's 2 Emmeline AW 1847. So it's a sweet little sampler. And this one I got because my daughter's name is also Emmeline. And so honestly, and I tell you, when we named her, I thought she would never hear that name anywhere. And I've been surprised because I finished another sampler a couple of years ago, a French sampler that has the name Emmeline on it. Both of them are spelled differently than how we spelled her name, but this one's closer. But anyway, since it had Emmeline's name on it, I had to get it. And but yeah, she actually, when she was in Girl Scouts, we went to a Girl Scout camp once, and then there was another Emmeline, and I was absolutely floored. But it says on here, may smiles supernatural rest on thee, thou friend of mine, thy worthy soul be blessed with joy and peace divine. So, and let's see, I'm just going to look at this. It's got NPI Silks and Splendor, which I'm not familiar with Splendor. I'm going to have to look that up and see. Anyway, that was my last purchase when I went in to get market stuff. And then this I pre-ordered ages ago when it first came out from the Fat Quarter Shop to pre-order, and this came in the mail since my last video. Summer Memories by Susan Aki. And I follow her on Instagram. I think on Instagram her tag is yardgirl60, but I just absolutely love her color sense and the stuff she puts together. But this book has 6 quilts and 10 cross-stitch patterns. And I'll just show you a couple of the cross-stitch ones that I liked, that I'd like to do sooner than later some year. Let's see, there's this one called, let's see if I can do this without showing the pattern. Freedom Flowers, I like that one. And then the other one that I liked was Hope. And there's actually 2 versions of this. There's this one that's got the border and I guess those are cherries across the side. Or they've got it, a pattern for it where it's just the center part, and that's called Peace. But I like the one with the border on it. And the quilts in here are all red, white, and blue. Patriotic. I was going to show you, my favorite one's called the Summer Picnic quilt. Let's see. Anyway, I like that. So anyway, that was fun to get and look through when it came in the mail. So, I think, hopefully I've covered everything. This is actually the second time I filmed this video. I filmed it on Monday, and it was fine. Saved it. And then my husband does my editing for me, and he got home, or got done with his work day, and the video was gone. And not only was it gone, but every video that in the whole folder that I've done since I started my Flosstube channel, the whole folder is empty. I have absolutely no idea what I did, which is a shame because I don't want to repeat it and do it again. But anyway, hopefully I won't have to reshoot this video a third time because I don't know if my schedule the rest of the week will allow for that, and it's been long enough since I made a video. But so I think that's gonna do it, folks. And I hope you're enjoying your spring. I hope you haven't been affected too bad by some of these bad spring storms and tornadoes that we've had, and that you have take some time to enjoy your stitching. And we'll see you next month. God bless.